Welcome to RealGM Radio. Before we jump in, do me a favor and subscribe to our brand new YouTube channel to catch the podcast when we record live, tune into the best segments, and join the RealGM Radio community. It helps me, it helps you, it's a win-win. Find us on youtube.com/@RealGMRadio. Coming up, Kevin Durant's favorite NBA writer joins me to talk about the playoffs, Jimmy Butler's injury, and are the Nuggets toast? All of that and more coming up. It's Real GM Radio. I'm Wes Goldberg here with Shane Young. He's an NBA analyst for Forbes. First time on Real GM Radio, and somebody who Kevin Durant says makes basketball convos fun and easy. So I figured you're the perfect guy to have on the show because fun and easy is what we're all about here. For those of you that have no idea what I'm talking about, Shane, who lives in Phoenix, tweeted about how it was a great experience to cover Durant this season, and then Durant responded on Twitter. He said, Shane, I appreciate your approach to your work. You made basketball convos fun and easy. Great working with you, brother. And I appreciate the kind words. That's just a cool moment. Okay, we don't have to pretend that it's not. That's a cool moment for you. What's it like when you see your phone, Durant's responding to you like that?
Yeah, it was kind of surreal because it's like the next day, and I guess he just sifted through all of his name mentions, which that's a whole nother can of worms. But it's cool. I mean, like you never see that from a guy of that caliber. Usually if you have those bonds, those relationships in the locker room, as you know from being a beat writer, it's more like the lower level, lower end guys into the bench. But yeah, pretty cool. But he's one of a kind. I mean, you can literally just talk about basketball or talk about any topic sitting at his locker for like 10, 15 minutes. And it's like, dude, you should probably go home. This is like 10:30, 11 o'clock. You should probably go home after the game. But no, he does not mind to talk if it's about something interesting. So pretty awesome.
And what would he consider interesting?
Well, I mean, so we kind of had some back and forths about like how awful college basketball viewing is these days. So just fun stuff like that. But then also, I remember one time this little funny little tidbit. But I asked Doc Rivers before the game in the pregame coaches thing, like how he's seen KD evolve at age 36, almost 37, and Doc was like, "Well, he's become a really good shooter from deep," and it's like. And I get what he was saying. It was like now he's 40% every single year at high volume, and he wasn't that coming in. But I asked KD about it after the game, and he's like, "What was Doc saying? I wasn't a good shooter before." And then so I had to like show him the clip and like, no, that's not what he was saying. It was just I give you the full context. So it's stuff like that.
How much is he willing to kind of dive into the X's and O's and stuff like that? Because
Yeah.
like you and I have sat, I know you've been an admirer of Durant's game for a long time. Like you and I have literally sat in LA watching Clippers Warriors, that first round series, that fun team that had like Montrezl Harrell and Tobias Harris on, and just like that weird team that kind of pushed that Durant Warriors team to whatever it was, 5 games or something. But I back then when Durant was on the Warriors, it was a little bit harder, I think, based on what we're talking about here, to kind of hang around him just because it was such a media frenzy where it feels like from Brooklyn, it was still a little bit like that in the first year. And then in Phoenix, it doesn't feel like it's quite that bad anymore.
From being in that environment that the Bay Area media is a different beast. New York media, whether it's Knicks or Nets, I mean, if you have Kyrie and KD on your team, it's going to be a media frenzy no matter what team it is. But hey, I got to tell you, man, like that's one of the perks of being in Phoenix is that there's really only 4 or 5 media members that are at every single game that you can count on being in that tier 1 locker room access area. So it's like, you kind of have the opportunities. So I guess to answer your question, like he's extremely willing at home, on the road. Again, I keep saying, as because I can see you being in this environment too. Guys just want to get straight to the bus.
Right.
They don't want to linger in the locker room, especially if it's a back-to-back, which that's always, if you want to talk to somebody, good luck if it's on the back-to-back, because they are ready to get to the bus within 5 minutes. But at home, yeah, I mean, he'll stay 5-10 minutes longer than usual.
At home, a lot of these players have other stuff that they have to deal with as soon as they leave that locker room. So like, whether it's signing autographs or sort of a fan engagement, not saying like these players don't like doing it, but it's not. Some of these players just leave the locker room and go home. Sometimes they have other obligations too, and sometimes they're trying to postpone those obligations a little bit. Other times they're also waiting on other people, either in the locker room or outside the locker room. They're saying like, I've got no family members. They're waiting for somebody else to be done with what they're doing so that they can meet up after the game. Like, there's 100 reasons why some of these players after a home game won't just go straight home, because they're not going straight home after these games sometimes for whatever reason. But it is kind of cool that you get to sit down with somebody like Durant, who I think has also opened up a little bit. He's always been online, like that's sort of been the Durant thing, but it's been different lately. It feels a little bit more chill, and that's got to be like a really cool place for you as somebody who gets to cover, one of the best 15 or 20 players of all time. We don't have to have that conversation now, but he's in that range. But to be able to kind of get him one-on-one and just sort of shoot the shit and talk ball, that's got to be pretty cool.
Yeah, totally right, totally right. And that's kind of what the original tweet was about, was that I kind of had that moment the day that the reports came out where, Shams was basically saying like, he's going to be on a different team next year. You just book it. And I'm like, well, I didn't really take full advantage of having him be here for a couple of years. I got here in December 2023, so kind of midway through that season under Frank Vogel, and it's kind of like it happens so fast that now he's going to be on a different team next year, and you kind of have to forge that with someone else, and that opens up the whole thing with Bradley Beal and Booker, which, hey, Booker's, I'm not gonna get it twisted. Booker's a fine superstar to converse with after games as well. It's just Durant being that OG, he's a little bit more open.
Yeah, he's a little bit more authentic and just doesn't give a shit about what people think, and I think that's really cool when you kind of. But also, what's interesting about this tweet is maybe I'm reading it the wrong way, reading too much into it. He also kind of confirms all the reports, because everything he says is in the past tense. You made basketball convos fun and easy. Great working with you, brother, and I appreciate the kind words. I don't know. It's like, is he also saying like, see ya, Shane? Like, I'm not going to be in this locker room next year.
It got aggregated, Wes. It got aggregated by 2 sites that said Kevin Durant responds to Suns reporter confirming he's out. So
did it really? I didn't notice. I didn't see that. That's great.
I'll show you later.
All right, so I'm glad you were talking to me about that. I find the media player dynamic and the relationships between the two fascinating for a million different reasons, and I don't know if people even appreciate me talking about it on the show, because I find it fascinating. I don't know if it's boring to other people. There's going to be more of it. I love it, especially in this day and age where you just don't have those relationships as much. And I'm not trying to say that Shane was on the plane with the Suns, hanging out.
And
with
I think that's what people
believe. The way that, like, I mean, it's the way that Bob Ryan talks about just like hanging out with Larry Bird. That doesn't happen anymore. No. But if you could find a little bit of that every once in a while, I think it's cool. But more than anything, I think it enriches your coverage, and I think that translates to the people who read and consume your coverage. And I think it's really important and it matters. And I wish there was more of it. Okay. Done with that part. Let's get to some of these playoff games. Clippers Nuggets. One of the reasons we postponed recording this week's episode, I usually record on Thursdays. I wanted to wait until Friday because I wanted to react to Game 3 of Clippers Nuggets, because I thought that it was going to be an awesome game. I think everybody thought it would be another great close game, an entertaining game, and it wasn't. The Clippers rolled over the Nuggets. They go up 2-1 in the series. A lot of things that we can get into here, Shane, but the first thing that kind of my biggest takeaway was that Nikola Jokic was not good in this game. I was disappointed by the game. I was mostly disappointed just because it wasn't very entertaining, but I was mostly disappointed with Jokic. He was as bad defensively as I've seen him in this game that we're talking about. There were, in the first half, well, first of all, the Nuggets come out in a zone, and I'm like, well, that's not great. I kind of hated that. If you're going to the zone on the first possession, that tells me you have no answers. You have no idea what you're doing. And then there's back-to-back plays later on in the first half where James Harden does the James Harden thing, calls Zubac up, pick and roll, involves Jokic in the play. And what Jokic will always do, and everybody knows this, he wants to show on that pick and roll. And everybody else on Denver behind him has to sort of rotate and be in position. And Harden tests it as he does, and Jokic does not show up very high. And that's sort of the tricky part with the show, right? Is if you don't show if you don't come up high enough, then you're kind of not really doing anything, and you're just in no man's land because you're not in position to guard the roller, and you're not in position to do anything with the ball handler. And Jokic, every once in a while, he'll fall into that trap, and it's okay. That's sort of built into the Jokic experience. And when you have that game plan defensively, you got to accept that that's going to happen every once in a while. So it happens on the first one. Okay, whatever. I'm like, that's not great. First thing in the game, not great. The Clippers get the ball back. Harden's like, I'm going to try it again. And he goes right back to the same spot, pick and roll, Zubac, James Harden, Jokic comes up, soft show, doesn't come up high enough to the level of the screen, and Harden just hits another pull-up jumper. And Harden is just too good, too experienced, and I love that he tested it twice. I thought Harden was really good in that game. But I saw that, I'm like, wow, that's... Jokic, he'll usually get away with one of them. To do it twice in a row, that's a bad sign. And then as the game went on, Shane, it was just, he was consistently out of position and all these things. And I hate to rag on him and open up the show just like hating on Jokic because I'm obviously a big Jokic fan. He's the best player in the universe. Love watching him. My takeaway was that he was bad, but I'm not even trying to criticize him. It's almost just a red flag to me of he looked so tired. And if you don't have that extra little bit to get that extra step forward or move with a little bit more urgency or slide your feet defensively and not give up those wide open layups, after the load that guy carried in the regular season, that's the thing that would worry me if I was a Nuggets fan right now.
Yeah, I'm actually wondering if you hacked into my notes somehow this morning. I have a couple of these line items there. But so I think it's interesting that you say it happened from the jump, because I noticed, they were weird on defense in that first quarter, Jokic especially. And it makes you wonder, is that his laziness, or is that is that a directive from the coaching staff? Like, why start the game that way? Why not come up and fully commit on the show? I can't imagine in a almost must win. It's 1-1. You need to kind of win one of these in LA, or your series is going to be over. And in that kind of scenario, why are you coming out like that defensively? So I don't know. Might have been a coaching staff decision to just not have them fully up there. But one thing I also have written down here is that when he did fully show, and when he did, because he likes to play high on those ball screens. He, for some reason, and Denver media has asked him about it, like he's most comfortable in that situation versus any sort of drop. Don't know why, but I think whenever he did, Denver's backline defense, the rotations were terrible.
Yeah.
Like just absolutely abysmal, to the point where that's when you start seeing the body language. That it's the I call it the LeBron, where you turn around and you see that your team gave up a layup or something at the rim, and then you just shrug your shoulders, shake your head, start throwing a fit. It's like that's what Jokic was doing at least 5 or 6 times in the first half that I noticed. And then the game got out of hand, and then they never kind of really got back into it. But it looks like a team, Wes. The Nuggets look like a team that just haven't been together long.
Right.
And that's kind of insane to say for 2023 NBA champions.
They have been executing this defensive strategy, granted not at a super high level, but at a good enough level, top 15, 12-ish type of defensive rating over the last few years for the last half decade. And then it looks like they flew into LA, got off the plane, and then somebody was waiting outside the plane and just clocking them in the back of the head, each and every one of them. And everybody just forgot what the defensive scheme was that they've been running for 5 years. You're totally right about the back end rotations behind Jokic on that. Everybody was out of position, and I know people are dealing with injuries, but it didn't. It looked worse. I think,
you're right. Something I think the Clippers are fully taking advantage of here. Even when they do rotate perfectly, have you just noticed that the Clippers are just so much bigger? Like so much bigger. It's not even funny. Like the people that are rotating on that back end after Jokic is showing and out on the perimeter, guarding those DHOs and those ball screens, they're just tiny compared to the Clippers. And Derrick Jones Jr. is waiting in the dunker spot, just rises up and throws one down, doesn't care who's in front of him. I mean, Aaron Gordon is the only semblance of like rim protection available back there on those possessions. So it's very concerning, and that's just kind of also what my biggest takeaway from this series is that sure, Jamal Murray can get going. He had great possessions on those left-handed drives last night. Great finishes at the rim, could get to his spots, pull up in the mid-range. And Jokic is going to give you the same production offensively every game. You don't have to worry about that, in my opinion. But everyone else, like the Clippers 3 through whatever you want to say, is just so much better, man. Just so much better and more athletic, more talented. And the shooting to me, especially when you consider like if Nico Batum and Norm Powell are gonna get rolling, and oh by the way, is Chris Dunn gonna hit a couple threes, then you're kind of dead on arrival.
That was my big takeaway. Also, my bubble has been burst on this Nuggets team. I don't know who you picked in this series or if you made picks. I had Nuggets in 7.
You had Nuggets in 7. I had Clips in 7. Yeah.
I didn't feel good about it. I said it on the show. I'm like, I have Nuggets in 7, and I hate it. But I have a rule: I don't trust the Clippers. It's one of my rules. I won't trust them. And I still don't know if I trust them, right? We could wake up tomorrow and Kawhi has a hamstring injury and you're just like, all right, there it goes. But what is so apparent in this series through 3 games is, to your point, the Clippers role players way better than Denver's role players. And we kind of knew that, but I didn't know. It is a little shocking the degree to which they've just outplayed Denver's role players. That's part of it. Kawhi looks great.
They're more experienced, too.
They're more
Way
experienced.
more experienced.
Kawhi looks awesome. And Kawhi wasn't even very good in that game last night. But, I mean, he wasn't game 2 Kawhi. He was fine. But the role players just were so much better. And so now I'm like, okay, the only formula for Denver to win is if Jokic is awesome, like MVP level Jokic, which he wasn't last night. He's got to be MVP level Jokic. Kawhi has to be worse than Jokic, which has not been the case for the first 2 games of this series. And then the role players just can't completely outplay Denver's role player. It just feels like the Clippers have so many other avenues to win these games, where Denver's only thing is Jokic has to be the best player on the universe. Kawhi can't be, and the role players can't be that dramatically. And so I never wanted to fully give up on the Nuggets as a championship contender because they have Jokic. My bubble's burst. I've given up. I don't believe in them at all. It doesn't get, even if they somehow win this series, which I don't think they will, but even if it does not get easier.
No. And I don't know how you feel about this, but like I was really, if I'm a Nuggets guy, which I'm not, I don't cover them, but if I was a Nuggets guy, I would have much rather seen them on the other side of the bracket. And then I would feel better about them making the West Finals. Like I think they could beat the Lakers. I think they beat the Warriors and Rockets, and Timberwolves in a series. Now Minnesota's that's always been a struggle for them, but regardless, they ended up in that 4-5 bracket, which I'm sure they like the Clippers matchup themselves internally, but now they're seeing that that's not so wise, and guess what is on the other side of that? The best team of all time in the regular season. So
Right.
I mean, it's just like I agree. My bubble's been burst on them, and what's sticking to me that I hope doesn't linger, that I hope doesn't become a thing after they get beaten this series, is like the body language from Jokic to me last night was a different level of disgust and disappointment of his situation, because I got to tell you, their situation doesn't get better either. It's not like they're just going to magically revamp their rotation.
Right.
But that's a different conversation. I did not like seeing that from him, the leader of the team.
It's a great call out. The body language thing has got to be really important. And if you're the owners of the Nuggets and you're saying, well, we need to hire a new GM and we're still not really sure if Adelman's our coach long term and we got to kind of figure this out, then that has to be front of mind right now, especially if it looks like what's going to happen here. I'm not saying you would give up on the series, but if you're in charge of this thing, you have to start looking forward. That's your job. And you got to do what you got to do to make sure that Jokic is happy at this point. Yeah. And nobody thinks that Jokic is going to ask out or anything like that. No, but you obviously don't want him just being bummed out on your team at the same time either, right? You want this guy engaged. And as awesome of a season as he's played, to lose in the first round this way, if it kind of continues to go this way, how do you not get bummed out if you're Jokic? He's like, I played at an all-time level. I had the best season of my career, and we didn't even have a chance in the first round.
And by the way, should have made the finals last year.
Yes.
They should have made the finals last year. They were the best team in the Western Conference, in my opinion.
I had them going.
Just choked it in the game 7.
So let's talk a little bit more about the Clippers part of this. They are, I think, they've looked like the second best team in the Western Conference. If they're getting this from Norm Powell, if they're getting this from Derrick Jones Jr., I had Zubac third team All NBA on my fake ballot, and I felt really he was in pen. Like there was no way he wasn't All NBA for me. And you're getting this from James Harden, who's, again, my rule is never trust the Clippers. I have 2 rules, Shane. Don't trust the Clippers and don't watch the Hornets after February.
Wow.
Those are my 2 rules, my 2 NBA rules. I can't trust the Clippers. I have made the joke of I won't even believe they've won the championship when they're holding the Larry O'Brien trophy. I just won't. I won't ever trust it. But damn it, Shane, they're roping me in.
They are, Wes. And the funny thing about this is that you're saying don't trust the Clippers, but then you're also saying like, oh, James Harden, historic playoff letdown guy, and then also Ben Simmons is on the roster too. So right. you have many reasons not to trust the LA Clippers.
Right.
But
Kawhi's hamstring, all these injuries. There's no reason to trust this team, but they look so good.
I would go a step to say that this looks like the second best team they've had with Kawhi. The best being 2021, which it'll forever be in my heart because I covered that playoff run. I remember they had a wacky travel schedule that year where like they closed out Utah in Game 6, and then 2 days or less than 36 hours later they were in Phoenix playing Game 1 in the West Finals. So it was ridiculous. But yeah, I think this team is deeper than that 21 team they had. But like, I mean, I just Kawhi looks springy. He looks fast. He looks ready to go. Dialed in defensively. It's just, did you expect Zoo to be like this? What he's 28, 29 years old. Like, I did not expect him to mature into this. There was one possession last night in particular that really highlighted the growth. Like he had Jamal Murray on him for a hot second on a switch in the post. And in the past, like they just wouldn't give it to him. They would just like work it around, Kawhi action over here, come off.
Get a shot up quick. Maybe you can get an offensive rebound.
Yeah. But instead, immediate fling it to Zoo in the post. And then Pickett came around the corner and tried to help. But by the time he even caught the ball, Zoo already put it up. So it was like, man, like that shows intentionality, and that's something that I didn't see with this Clippers team the last 4 years.
So I don't know if this is the best Clippers team. To your point, this is easily my favorite Clippers team during this stretch since Kawhi signed there. They're deep, they're fun, they have a lot of optionality. You've got the Kawhi Zoo pick and roll over here. You've got just put Kawhi on the block, isolate, clear out over there, which is tons of fun. That's old school throwback, and he's so freaking good at it that I'm cool with it. And then every once in a while, you're like, oh, I didn't realize it was a Norm Powell night, and he's just going off. And then Bogdanovich hasn't exactly been that for them, but it feels like that's there somewhere. And Derrick Jones Jr., it's like, oh wow, we're just gonna get it to him in transition. He's gonna have like 2 highlight dunks tonight that I didn't see coming. It's just been really cool. And then Jeff Van Gundy, he's just fighting with players for the basketball. Like I didn't see this coming. It's easily the most entertaining, most fun Clippers team that we've seen. But
what do you think about Intuit Dome? How loud did it sound there? From TV.
It's one of the few arenas I haven't been to. I want to go so bad, and I love that they gave. I don't know if it was blue shirts or shawls or something that they gave to a bunch of the people, and then the horse heads were obviously out there, and the signs. They do such a great job, and Ballmer deserves so much credit for just saying we're gonna have a great fan base. You talk to players, they're like, yep, it's loud, it's crazy in there. He's done a really good job of facilitating that. It very much was like, if you build it, they will come. If I give you a bunch of free stuff and noisemakers, they'll just show up and use the noisemakers. It's pretty great, and it's something I want other owners to take notice of. If you ever complain about your own home crowd internally, just start giving them free stuff. Yeah. It works, man. It freaking works.
It works.
That said, we were talking about Zoo. I didn't see this coming. I really didn't. And he's been my favorite, one of my, favorite 10, 15 players to watch this year, which is crazy. Like, he reminds me a little bit of, and follow me on this if you can, but like, you've got like a bunch of people at a bar and the girl's flirting with this guy the whole time, and it turns out that like it's never been that guy leaves, and then she ends up like going home with another guy, and you're like, that guy's been the main character the whole time.
Oh, yes.
Zoo's just sort of been here in the background, just lingering, just drinking his Miller Lights at the corner of the bar and just being like, oh, you need me now? Hold on. And he puts his beer down. And he's like, turns out I'm one of the best 5 centers in the league. He's literally been one of the best 5 centers in the league this season. There's been some injuries and stuff, but it's crazy what I had him on my, again, fake most improved ballot. I didn't have him number 1, but I had him in my top 3, I think. But I've really enjoyed it.
I spoke to him and on like February 26th, like late February, just about like the defensive player of the year candidacy, when it was clear that Victor Wembanyama was going to be out and only played 46 games or something with a blood clot. And it was looking like, he had a chance to really shine and go get that award. Clippers took a little bit of a defensive tailspin toward that part of the year. Then they revived themselves later on, but he's been the linchpin.
Yeah,
he's
the backbone.
I would say not. I don't know if he's the best. I think Rudy is still the best, but he is one of the 3 best drop coverage bigs in basketball. He's always gonna shut off the water of your Chris Paul-esque mid-range guys that like to pull up there. You're not getting to the rim on him. If you do, he's going to contest, and he's going to do it without fouling too.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say he's even better than Jaren Jackson Jr. for that. For that reason too. So.
Yeah, I have him. Clearly, my bubble's been burst on Jaren Jackson Jr. a little bit too over the last year.
A lot of bubble bursting.
A lot of bubble bursting, but a lot of new bubbles. Like we got a new Zoo bubble, so that's fun. But I think he's one of the best positional defenders in the league right now. I compared him a couple weeks ago to Marc Gasol, like prime Marc Gasol in Memphis, where he's just middle linebackering the defense, where he's not contesting the shots all the time. He's just taking that anticipatory step before that makes that point guard do that U-turn. And it's like, you're not even going to shoot. Like, we're not even talking about defending a shot because you're not even taking that shot. He's been awesome. I've really enjoyed watching him, and I really enjoyed watching Marc Gasol then, and that's why I kind of remember it. It's like, oh, he just knows this little half step here is just going to screw up everything that they want to be doing offensively, and he's at that level right now, and there's no reason why it's going to change. I just think that this is who the Clippers have now in the middle of their defense, and it allows Chris Dunn to be super aggressive chasing over these screens. It allows Derek Jones Jr. to be aggressive in these passing lanes. Having Zoo is, to me, I understand people wanting to vote Chris Dunn for Defensive Player of the Year or All Defense or whatever, and his eligibility and all that stuff is a problem, but to me, Zoo is the backbone of that defense. He made everything click into place. Not taking anything away from those guys, but Zoo is the most important defender they have.
Yeah, they have essentially replaced the Pat Bev and Zoo thing with the Chris Dunn and Zoo connection. So,
let's move on to the other big series in the West: Warriors, Rockets. So, big story there. Jimmy Butler. We get another reason why we wanted to wait to record here is we wanted some information on Jimmy Butler, who took that ugly fall earlier in the week. The report: Jimmy Butler underwent the MRI that revealed no structural damage, but the Golden State Warriors star is in serious jeopardy of missing Game 3 with a deep glute muscle contusion, according to reports. Jeff Stotts from In Street Clothes tweeted his analysis: a glute contusion is an ideal outcome for the Warriors forward. And can we just call the people the names? Like, we have Golden State Warriors star in the report. Warriors, just call him Jimmy Butler. We know who he is. This is one of my biggest writing ticks. Anyway. Glute contusion, ideal outcome, and one that he's familiar with. Butler suffered a glute contusion during the 2023 playoffs and never missed a game. The average time lost for all other glute contusions is 5.2 days, or on average, about 1 game. Butler is questionable for Game 3. He could play Game 3, but it sounds like he should at least be available for Game 4. That is obviously a big deal for the Warriors, about as good as an outcome as you could hope for. No fractures, nothing broken. So that's really what you were hoping for after that spill. So the two questions there is, how many games does Butler end up missing? Is it 1, 2? Is it none? What is it? And then the other question, Shane, is what percentage does Butler need to be for the Warriors to win this series?
Man, I think that I don't know if the should is the right word, but I think they should not try to rush him back on this. Like let him miss Game 3, and then just maximize treatment before Game 4 to give you the best shot. Because if he comes back in Game 3 and he's just not comfortable, then it's like, oh, now you just wasted that. And by the way, the Rockets know that he's not healthy.
Right.
Like they know that he's not anywhere close. So I would just wait till game 4. But I think, man, I hate this for Golden State. I think he has to be at like 80% of himself. I think because it's one thing if he's back, but then he's just taking jump shots. Since you remind me, I'll say taking jump shots off 1 foot. But like it's one thing if he's out there just as a body, but they need him attacking the rim, getting to the line, and they need him as the go-to guy, the 2018, 2017 Kevin Durant in clutch moments. Like Steph is still a god. He is still, to me, the deadliest offensive weapon I've ever seen. But like when Houston is extremely, extremely physical with him, there has to be a half-court answer. Podziemski is not that half-court creator answer. Kuminga doesn't play a lot, if at all. Draymond is not that. They will gladly let him shoot. They need Jimmy at the level he was in game 1. If he's not, Houston's going to win the series.
I tend to agree with you. And I don't know. I think you rest him for game 3. I think you have to. And if you bring him back for game 4, that's a week off. All right. Game 3 is Saturday. Game 4 is Wednesday. That's a full week off. I think that's probably the best. That's probably where I think this ends up. By the way, I think the Warriors are experienced enough to look at this long term and know how to deal with some of these injuries, whether it was with Durant in the past or even Steph more recently or Draymond or guys like that. They know, okay, let's just make sure this guy, it's more valuable to have this guy 100% for the rest of the series than just have him on the floor at half of what he's capable of doing, kind of limping through in game 3. But we'll see what happens. I wouldn't also be surprised if Jimmy Butler said, I'm playing. You know, like that could also happen. And I think to your point, probably would be a mistake. But the other part of this too is the Warriors role players have been bad in this series. Buddy Hield has been bad. I know Brandon Podziemski was dealing with that stomach thing, but he's been bad. You know, whatever the reason is, he's been bad. You know, I don't think Quentin Post, he's made a few shots. He hasn't been very good.
No.
Like, the role players have not been good. Moses Moody has been okay, but they need more from him even. Gary Payton II hasn't really made shots yet. But then, again, they're playing in Houston, and the old adage is role players play better at home, and this series is going back to San Francisco. So maybe in game 3, you rest Jimmy, you get a big Buddy Hield and a big Brandon Podziemski game, you get Steph Curry doing usual Steph things, Draymond doing his usual Draymond things, and you can win this series. But the Jimmy Butler injury to me would be really worrisome if I was a Warriors fan. And the other thing that would really worry me is that this whole series has been played to the tempo the Houston Rockets want to play it at. They have controlled and dictated the terms of engagement all series long. They have turned this into a rock fight, and the Warriors do not want a rock fight. Even Draymond, who kind of gets off on all this trash talk, he doesn't want to play a rock fight. He wants to be out in the open court making decisions, breaking up 2-on-1s, all this kind of stuff. He doesn't want to be in a rock fight. He just wants to trash talk. Like, nobody on the Warriors wants us to be a rock fight, except for Jimmy Butler, who's the guy that got injured. So, I think this is very problematic. I don't know what you had going into the series. I had Houston in 7. Again, one of those.
Oh, you did.
I didn't feel awesome about it. I think I saw something on Twitter that you actually picked Warriors in a close series too. But it was a toss-up to me too. I made a choice and I didn't feel awesome about it. But yeah, it feels like Houston has dominated this series so far.
Yeah, I picked Golden State under the premise that they would steal one of the first 2 and then go home and be healthy and just run Houston out of the gym because they were going to make a million shots at home, which is what they do, and then come back 3-1. But you're right, and as you're saying, like Houston doesn't want the rock fight, or Golden State doesn't want the rock fight. Yeah, they don't, but and I think that they'd be fine with a half-court game as long as the half-court game is high tempo. As long as they're not getting grabbed and pulled and all their actions, their first, second, and third actions aren't getting broken up by Houston's defenders. But that's what happened. Like every DHO is blown up by Min Thompson. Like you can't get a favorable matchup unless it's Şengün, right? Like or I guess even Fred VanVleet, he's small, but he is feisty as hell, man.
He pushes you right on your hip.
Yeah, that is not a mismatch in a lot of instances. It kind of reminds me of the James Harden thing. Like Harden's a really good post defender.
Kyle Lowry, who we learned from too. Yeah.
Yes, I forgot about Kyle. And I worry about Golden State and like I don't know how many times Jimmy got to the line in game one, but it felt like a lot, and it felt like that was something that was going to propel them. But I'm not ruling out the fact that Steph just has some magical stuff going on in the half court, and I don't know where I feel like this series is the poster child for the whole like more physicality is allowed in the playoffs type thing. No whistles are being called, and I don't know where you stand on it. I like seeing the more physical game. I think that's needed a little bit more. I just don't want us to go too far in the other direction where it's like, I don't know if you see, but every single time that there's a miss at the rim or something, and not just this series, I saw a lot of Knicks Pistons the other night too, last night. Like guys are yelling at the ref, putting their hands up every single time, at least 50, 60 times a game.
Yep.
And that doesn't happen if the discrepancy isn't so high from regular season to playoffs. Like I feel like guys are saying, hey, this was a call 2 weeks ago. Why is it not now?
I agree.
I do understand that point.
Yeah, and when the Rockets defender is grabbing Steph's shorts and trying to hold him back from taking a shot, and that's not a foul call, I think that's probably where we need to draw the line, somewhere near that. Steph has not been getting calls, and a lot of players have not been getting calls, to your point. I'm with you. I think they probably need to either warn the players, hey, by the way, we're going back to 1996. Like, that's just what it's going to be. And it's like, okay, like at least you know what clearly these players didn't anticipate what this is. That said, I will say, like, quit the bitching. Like, it's enough. It's
true.
It is also, like, I can't, we'll get into the Knicks later on. I'm having a hard time watching them. Luka was at his peak worst complaining the other night with the refs. It was like, it just, now it's got to be what it is. But that said, also, I would take the over on Steph free throw attempts in game 3. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Oh, yeah.
I would 100% take the over on that, because I think there's been enough public pushback on what this thing has been.
A little surprised. Now, maybe I missed it in the post game, but I'd make a point to watch the opposing coaches. I kind of thought that maybe Steve Kerr was going to light up the refs at some point in these first couple games. Now, game 1, you won, so it's like,
right.
You can't really say anything. But like,
I was a little surprised too. Steve will play that card. But maybe it's after the home game is the way to do it. Like you kind of need home court advantage even in that sense, right? Because you could always kind of say, well, the league office could be, you're on the road, the fan influence, how that goes. But if it goes sideways in San Francisco, then maybe I could see Steve doing it. But I'm with you. I'm ready for it.
Yeah. And Houston shot 43s. I gotta tell you, man, like if Houston, a team that a kind of anemic half court offense at times, if they're getting up quality threes, like they are a team that can make the West Finals if they were getting up quality threes. I mean, I kind of just went into this series thinking they weren't going to generate enough of them. But
well, let's talk about the Houston side of things. New bubble, the Houston Rockets bubble. I love this Rockets team, man. I love it. They're different. They're sort of funhouse mirror Indiana Pacers, where it's just like, hey, you tune into a Pacers game, this is weird. Everything's going really fast. A lot of people are taking shots. Like, this is kind of fun. The Rockets, you kind of tune into a Rockets game and you're like, what time machine did I just step out of? This is absolutely crazy. They're playing like 3 centers at once. What's going on? They're playing power forwards at shooting guard. I have so much fun watching them play. And so there's a bunch of kind of directions I want to take this into, but in terms of the half-court offense, if they're getting those open looks, and Golden State has not been good defensively in this series, I don't think they've been giving up a lot of stuff. I think they're having a really hard time just like seeing what they need to do on both ends of the court also, because Houston is so overwhelmingly big. There are literally plays where you've got, I think, Warriors players crashing the glass, and then certainly Rockets players crashing the glass, and you don't see any Warriors jerseys for like half a second. Mm-hmm. It's just all these red and Rockets jerseys crowding out these blue and white Warriors jerseys. Houston is rebounding 4 out of every 10 of their own missed shots.
Oh, God. I didn't know it was like that. Yeah, you're
it's wild,
40.6% offensive rebound rate. I just saw it. Oh, wow.
So every 10 of their missed shots, Houston gets 4 of those offensive rebounds. They're just getting it back.
Yeah.
I know that there's some issues with Houston in the half court in terms of their offense, especially in game 1. I want to do a little deeper dive on Jalen Green here in a second with you, but they're also crushing the Warriors on the possession battle, so they don't have to be as efficient. They're averaging the 4th most field goal attempts per game. Houston is in the playoffs. Golden State is last, and that's not including the free throw disparity, which is also favoring the Rockets.
Do you remember
they're just getting up more shots?
You remember all those dynasty years when Steve Kerr would just essentially cry, like just start screaming and crying to his team, like, we are unstoppable, guys, if we just have the same number of possessions.
Yep.
No one in the world can beat us 4 out of 7 unless we beat ourselves. And that's what they do. That's what this team has done all the time. But guess what? They always end up winning the series. So it's like, you know, I do trust Steph and Dre to clean that up. But you're right. Like, if just in terms of turnovers, I know offensive rebounds are a different ordeal. Like, that's just Houston being bigger, and
there's no answer for that. I mean, players like to talk about, oh, we just have to have more will to go to the ball. We got to gang rebound, all that stuff. Okay, fine. Unless you guys are literally climbing on each other's shoulders and putting a trench coat over you to be taller. There's not a gang rebounding strategy that works against Steven Adams, Alperen Sengun, Jabari Smith Jr., Tari Eason, these guys who are just so much bigger and more physical than you. I just don't see it happening. Yeah,
they're in every year. Like, every year they face this unique test. Now last year they got put out in the play-in, so that was a whole other deal. But like, every year, like, I remember tweeting the other day, like, this reminds me of the Sacramento 2023 series, where that was the first time in the career era that they went down 0-2. And they still came back and won. So it's like every little year there's a unique test, and this is
I still think
different.
Sacramento wins that series if De'Aaron Fox doesn't hurt his finger in that series. But but to your point, I doubted the Warriors that year too. I just said they're not big enough. I don't see it, and they win the championship. So in 2022, and you know, this team isn't as good as the 2022 team.
No,
I know Jordan Poole's kind of a joke now. He was awesome that year. Like, Buddy Hield.
Let me ask you this: with Jimmy there, like, do you think they're still not as good as the 22 team when Jimmy, like, the game 1 version of the Warriors? I do. I think that team is as good as 2022.
I want to get there. I really do, but the depth is just so bad to me. Where I at least thought the 2022 team had more. Just better, deeper, a better, deeper roster. Like, there's a lot of Quentin Post minutes in this series that make me very uncomfortable. There's a lot of, like, you tune into Warriors podcasts and they're like, we need more Pat Spencer, and I'm like, who?
Oh, geez.
Like, what do we even do? Like, the lacrosse guy? Like, what are we doing with this?
The guy that got a towel thrown in his face.
Right. It's. That 2022 team was a little bit deeper, but then, like, they were awesome when Jimmy was there and Steph and Draymond, and they were healthy. I just think this is a really bad matchup for them, and you know, we'll see how it plays out. But let's a little bit more about the Rockets here. I want to talk about Jalen Green because I know it's a roller coaster ride with him, and he was bad in game 1 and he was awesome in game 2. But everybody with this Rockets team, I think all season they've been focusing more. Again, this is my new Rockets bubble. They've been focusing more on what Houston can't do as opposed to what they can do. And what they can do is play awesome defense. They get back in transition. They don't give up anything at all, ever. They give up no quarter anywhere on the court. And they win the possession battle. And they control the controllables probably better than any other team in the league. And they're super deep. And they just have a bunch of players, but they lack the number 1 option, right?
Yeah.
But when Jalen Green is playing like he did in game 2, it kind of gives credence to that criticism is, hey, this team is just they're a number 1 option away. And Jalen Green obviously doesn't always play like the number 1 option. He's not like that prototypical number 1 option. But when he scores 30 points at least, then all of a sudden for a night Houston has that number 1 option, and they are literally unbeatable. When Jalen Green has scored 30 or more points in the regular season, the Rockets were 13-1.
Oh my gosh.
And now apparently 1-0 in the playoffs. So that's it. That's the whole thing. And when they get these games from Jalen Green, and I will say this about Jalen Green too, it's a roller coaster ride with him. I understand that. I hated the contract when they signed it.
Mm.
The 3-year, $106 million contract extension. I got on here and I said, why would you do that? That was a mistake. Just let Jalen Green play this year out and then deal with it in the summer. You don't have to get ahead of this. I was wrong. I'll take the L on it. This is exactly why you do it. Because it's really interesting in this matchup. Jalen Green, the guy who signed that contract extension, which he could have argued even then, maybe he could have said that was below my market value, right? I think it's about right. But he could have said, I want to wait for the max. You compare that to the Jonathan Kuminga situation. Same draft, same extension eligibility. And Kuminga could not come to a contract extension agreement with Golden State's front office. And so he is playing out the year basically as a lame duck. And you could tell Kuminga all season long, he has taken a step back because all he's thinking about is the contract extension. You could tell.
Yeah,
that's all he's thinking about. And he's out of the rotation now. And I don't blame Steve Kerr even a little bit, by the way. He's not been good enough. Like I'm okay with it. I don't know where you stand on that, but we could talk about that.
I love the fact that you say that because you see, I would say 99.9% of Warriors Twitter wanting Steve Kerr fired for those decisions. And it's like, well, I tend to trust that he knows what he's talking about. I tend to trust that he knows what he sees in practice and what he sees on the court and in film and what the stats say, the stats that none of us are privy to on how they defend in certain areas with him. Like, it just makes sense. And he has won so many championships that it's unreal. And
right.
I'm just gonna trust that. Like, he doesn't hate Jonathan Kuminga. Like it's just he thinks that this gives them the best chance to win. So that's a quick little sidebar.
I said it on Monday, so I don't want to do it a ton on it. But Steve Kerr is always he's always preferred the low maintenance or no maintenance role players. And whatever you think Kuminga's ceiling is, he's a role player right now.
Yeah.
And there's just he's too high maintenance, and there's the spacing is always a problem with him on the court. You got to work. You don't want to start working your lineups around your role players. Your role players are supposed to accentuate the lineups around your stars, and Kuminga basically does the opposite of that.
And then he also you and Kelly Oubre.
Exactly. So it's just I really respect how Jalen Green has handled his business because he signed the contract extension and then he came back and he hasn't taken this huge star leap. I don't think. Even though on some nights, like in game 2, he looks like a superstar. But he's gotten better this year. Like defensively, he's way more engaged. I don't think he's been nearly the negative that he's been defensively. Now, he's still gotten benched at some of the end of these games in the regular season, and that's fine. And he was really bad in game 1, and I was a little surprised that Udoka brought him back at the end of the fourth quarter there. So I'm not sitting here saying that Jalen Green is like lights out every single night. But I think he's taken a leap. I think he's making better decisions, even though, again, there's some nights where you're like, why are you taking that shot? But he also makes a lot of these tough shots where he kind of needs to take those shots in these games to figure out if it's one of those great Jalen Green games or not. So I'm okay with a little bit of it. I saw some decision-making concerns in the fourth quarter, but he's taking the right steps in the right direction, and I just respect how he's handled his business.
Yeah, I've always said I think Jalen Green might be a product of this new era of youth youth hoops where, you take bad shots, like really bad shots, but you're so damn good that they go in, then it convinces you that those are good shots to take.
Right.
Because I do it all the time. I make it all the time in pickup or whatever the case is. AAU, overtime elite, whatever he was with. It's like, so I definitely see it, and I can see the old school mentality of Ime Udoka and that coaching staff. Every time he pulls up some stupid, ridiculous shot in the half court, it's like, what are you doing?
Right.
Or coming down on a 3-on-1 and pull up contested 3. It's like, why that? Just be a little bit more patient.
Right.
But I think Houston's offense needs someone unpredictable like that.
If they had somebody who could just get their own shot in an efficient way, if they had Kevin Durant, for instance, right, where you're just like, yep, go ahead, then they wouldn't need somebody. But every once in a while, they just need Jalen Green to say, F it, I'm going to pull up from here, and maybe it goes in. And they, to your point, they kind of need that every once in a while.
In game 2, he was 3 of 4 at the rim, 2 of 2 in the floater range, and 7 of 16 on above the break threes. Hey, that's 43.8%. Like, take more. Yeah. I don't care. I really don't. I'm not the guy. I think guys of that caliber should routinely be over 15 threes if your offense needs that.
Mm-hmm. And every once in a while, too, like defensively, he is so quick twitch that he'll jump a passing lane, get a steal, and he's in a half second at the rim the other way, dunking. And obviously, Houston has a ton of really good defenders, a ton of really disruptive defenders, but it's really only him and Amen Thompson that are creating that turnover and getting to the other end that fast. And this is another, again, a Rockets team in the middle of these rock fights that they get. You get those relief points every once in a while. That's huge. So, yeah, I really like this Rockets team. I don't know if they'll end up winning the series or whatever, but I just think that they deserve a lot more credit than some of what's been happening.
True. I want to see like Ant Edwards Wolves against this Rockets team. Like that, we kind of haven't seen that match. I don't remember any of the regular season meetings between those two, but that's the series that I'm kind of rooting for.
You're right. I will sign up for Anthony Edwards against anything. He has become an all-time trash talker. You were mentioning before about how every player is asking for these calls now in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Anthony Edwards leads the league in his getting picked up by the mic, by the backboard mic.
Yes.
Right? You always hear him. He's like, "Hey, ref!"
all the time. Towns, though. I thought Towns was up there.
Towns is up there too, but Ant is so loud, man. Ant's coming for it. Ant's coming for that title. Let's go to the Eastern Conference really quick. I don't want to spend a ton of time on a lot of these series. I do want to talk about Knicks Pistons.
Oh, yes.
Here's my take, Shane. I hate watching this Knicks team.
Whew.
I hate it. I hate this team. I hate watching them. This is not some like dormant Heat Knicks 90s rivalry thing. That is nothing. I hate watching this Knicks team. They don't deserve to win this series.
Wes hates Villanova is what I'm getting out of this.
They have the talent, and that's the only reason they're winning the series. They have been outcoached. They have been out-schemed. They have been outplayed in this series. The Pistons deserve to win. Ethical hoops would dictate that the Pistons win this series. They're not going to win this series because the Knicks just have way more talent. Karl-Anthony Towns had 31 points, and he was unstoppable. He made everything in their game last night. And I would say it was still the same BS of him not doing his homework early, settling for outside of the paint jumpers, and all this junk that these Knicks fans, and I understand, don't want him doing. They want him to be more physical. Everybody wants him to be more physical. He's having a problem with these wings. Jalen Brunson has been throwing his head back for 3 straight games. I think they've been severely outcoached by JB Bickerstaff. But at the end of the day, the Knicks have the guys who just can make shots. They've got the shot makers, and the Pistons don't. The Pistons just don't have those shot makers the way that the Knicks do. But Mikal Bridges has not worked out. Trading 5 first-round picks, that seems like a mistake. Tibbs is having a hard time unlocking him. Cat has taken a step back. I thought Cat was unreal the first few months of the season, the last 2 months, when teams started putting wings on him. He has had no idea what to do since then, and neither has Tibbs. Jalen Brunson is on my last nerve with the complaining to the refs and the foul baiting. I hate watching this team, and I hate that they're going to win this series. But they're going to get, if they keep playing like this, they'll get swept by Boston.
Yeah. We should say, though, that Karl had a really good night last night. Like he
made shots, but I still hated it because it wasn't the shots that I wanted. He still he still would refuse to get to push Tobias Harris into the paint. He would just settle for these turnaround jumpers. And he's amazing and he's capable of making those shots, and it's cool, but they don't deserve to win.
So it's one of those things that you're saying that's like process over results. Like the results were great, but the process is going to get you bludgeoned by Boston.
Correct. Okay. That's exactly what I'm saying. And I have praised Cat on this podcast. I loved how he opened the year. I loved how he's embraced New York. I've likened it before to with his physicality before on those drives, like when he was in Minnesota. He would go into a grocery store with no shopping list, and he would just be like, do I need produce? I'm going to go to the bread aisle. I'm going to go get some chips over here, whatever. This year in New York, he goes into the grocery store. He's like, I'm going straight to the bread aisle. I'm getting what I need, and I'm leaving. And I thought that was mostly what he did for the season. And then defenses started putting wings on him, and he was like, what? This is a whole new store. I don't even know how to shop anymore. I left my credit card at home. I have no idea what to do. And he's not figured it out, and it's been 2 months of this.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, there was a lot of possessions where he did settle into. I saw him do a Kobe-esque, Jordan-esque fadeaway that he made. Hey, you made it, Karl. But it's like
over Dennis Schroeder, right? The one on the baseline.
Yeah. Why was
why are
that
you not backing that guy in?
Yeah.
And then the broadcast is like, great shot making by Karl-Anthony Towns. I'm like, I hate this. I hate this.
Let me know what happens when you're posting up Jaylen Brown.
Right.
We'll see what happens. You know why the Knicks are going to win the series? It's because the Pistons have turned it over on 18% of their possessions.
Wow. That's like playing the Thunder every night.
It's funny you say that because the only team that's turned it over more is the Memphis Grizzlies. So, yes.
Who are playing the Thunder every night.
Yes. Only for one more night.
That's right.
Yes, Detroit. This is a Sacramento-esque story. You got into the playoffs. You won a playoff game for the first time since I was an 8th grader. And guess what? Like 2008.
No, I knew it was 2008. I was trying to do the math on your age there.
Yeah. Funny enough, like I graduated in 2012, and that's 12th grade. So I can always line it up that way.
That's right. Okay, so I did that right. So I'm 2013. So we're only a year apart.
Yeah. And where was I going with that? Oh, it's just a good feel-good story. Like Cade Cunningham is the most mature 20 whatever year old he is that I've seen in the NBA. That dude just consistently makes the right read and consistently does the right stuff. He
was awesome in game 2. If I'm being critical of the Knicks, I have to be critical. I thought Cade had a little bit of a disappointing game 3 at home. He wasn't great in that game. I'd expect a better game 4 from him. I don't think that the series is over, but I'm with you. I love the Pistons. Such a feel-good story. New bubble, Thompson twins. I love Amen Thompson. I think Asar Thompson could be better than Amen Thompson defensively, which is saying a lot because I had Amen Thompson number 1 on my Defensive Player of the Year thing, which is not a secret, but we'll talk more about DPOY a little bit later. But I love so much about what this Pistons team is. They're just not ready yet, and they need one more. They need one more shot maker, high level shot maker, and that's a whole other thing. But yes, to your point, go ahead.
I saw Tim Hardaway Jr. making 7 threes. I'm like, is this Dallas in 2021? Because that's got what it reminded me of, that Clippers and Mavs series where Hardaway was the best shooter of all time. So.
Shooter's been really good for them. Also, yeah. All right, so I hate the Knicks. That's my thing there. That's it for the playoff series. I want to do we're going to get into shift into new gear here. Just quick, loose playoff thoughts, playoff time thoughts. Doesn't even necessarily have to be about teams in the playoffs. Could be just about stuff going on right now. I'll start us off. We got it just with the news here. Ja Morant, he gets hurt during that Grizzlies game against the Thunder. We got to at least mention it. The Grizzlies were winning at the time. They imploded after that. Gave up a 29-point lead after Morant left. Just an absolute disaster for Memphis in what has been just a feel-bad disaster of a season for the Grizzlies. He apparently left the game, Morant did, on crutches. They don't know if he's going to play in Saturday's potential elimination game. So obviously the first thing is you hope Morant gets better because he's awesome to watch when he's right. But this injury history now with Morant is really troubling.
Yeah.
And so just quick recap. Didn't finish the 2022 playoffs, that series against the Warriors because of a right knee injury. 2023 misses game 2 of their first round series against the Lakers and was dealing with a right hand injury apparently the entire series. 2024 played only 9 games because of the 25-game suspension and injuries. And then this year, his season looks like it's going to be ended by this hip injury. So Morant's young, all this stuff. I know there's some scuttle out there about Ja Morant's future in Memphis. I still have a hard time thinking that the Grizzlies will move past Ja Morant, especially for a lot of reasons. But I can't quite get there yet. But if you're Memphis, if you're any other team employing Ja Morant at this point, this injury history is really troubling.
Yeah, and I can't help but harken it back to the play style, and it's like it's a common denominator that he plays that freely and loosely and aggressively and fearlessly, but also has all these kind of, I don't know if I would say lower body. I guess it is lower body. It's a hip, but all these little injuries piling up on him, and I don't know, man. Like maybe he's just not. Maybe this is what it's going to be. And Zion, Zion's kind of the same way. Always had stuff piling up with him. But to their credit, I mean, they always bounce back. They always come back, and there's been moments where he's looked awesome this year. So I'm not concerned about like he's going to deteriorate. I just think that this is kind of the deal. Like you're going to have unpredictable times of the injuries that he's going to miss, and if it's in the playoffs, guess what? Your team's just not going to win. So you do need to decide if he is the guy you want to tie your future to. If he's not, if you're not okay with the current results, which I don't know why you could be, if you're not okay with that, you probably have to look elsewhere.
So you got me thinking here. 2019, Zion goes number 1. We know his injury history. Morant goes number 2. Would you take one of those guys at this point as the number 1 pick?
Zion. I'm a sucker. I would take Zion. I'm a sucker.
There's an argument Darius Garland would be the number 1 pick in a redraft.
In a redraft, absolutely. In a redraft, yeah.
You might even go Tyler Hero number 2. These guys at least
the guy that Garland just called out. I love it.
I know. Hero, I mean, he has not been healthy in the past, so maybe this is just a one-off, but he played 70-plus games this year, and he's healthy now. But Garland is probably the number 1 pick if you're just saying, hey, I don't have to deal with it's the one jaw injury last year, mostly has been healthy, also an all-star. He's awesome. I know he's just going to be on the court, even if the highs aren't as high as John Morant or Zion Williamson. I just don't know what their injuries. I don't know. It's just something I just thought of.
No, yeah. I'm endlessly fascinated by we're not talking about this team on this podcast, but I'm endlessly fascinated by what the Pelicans do with Zion. That's all I'll say.
The Pelicans and the Grizzlies, I think, both have things. And the one thing with John Morant, because you could say, look, this was a fluke injury, and I don't blame Lou Dort for the injury. I want to get that out of the way. It was a little bit like the Amen Thompson thing with Jimmy Butler. It was an accidental thing. I don't think there's any blame to go around. It just sucks. I don't even really necessarily John Morant for going up for the dunk, even though I've seen some people being like, why are you always trying for the highlight on Twitter? But that's Twitter. I don't really care. I will say this, though. If I were a team looking to employ John Morant, or even if I'm Memphis right now, the thing that I'd be concerned about is John Morant's discipline.
Yeah.
Because he has a discipline problem. And I don't want to get to that to get misconstrued. This is not like an employer being disciplined thing. That's not at all what I'm saying. It's that self-will, that self-discipline, that doing the thing I don't want to do, even though I know it's better for me type of discipline. John Morant said before the year, I'm not going to dunk anymore so that I can protect my body and can protect my health. And he just can't help it. He does not have the discipline in the throes of the game to not dunk it. And I do respect it. Like home crowd, playoff moment, I get it. Dunks are high efficiency, like all these things. But you came out before the year and said, I'm not going to dunk anymore because I don't want to get injured. And then you're going to miss the end of your team's season. And your team just gave up a 29-point lead because you tried to go up for a dunk and got injured on that dunk.
Well, no, that was a stupid thing to say in the first place. No,
it was, but he said it, and he said it. And I think he said it for the right reasons. He's like, look, I'm this amazing player. I don't only have to play above the rim. I can make shots. Yeah. I'm awesome under the basket. I can do all these other things. And so I worry about that. I worry. And then the discipline, off the court stuff. I mean, it's out there. Mm-hmm. It is what it is. The finger gun celebration, to know that I probably shouldn't be doing this, but I can't help myself. With the grenade celebration on top of it, it's kind of funny. We all laugh and chuckle at it. But if I were the team that had John Morant on my roster, it's that discipline stuff. It's very similar to you make your New Year's resolution. I'm gonna go to the gym more. I'm gonna start eating right, and then you do it for a day, and then you're just right back to doing what you were doing before. John Morant knows, he knows what he's supposed to do and what he ought to do, and he says what he's supposed to do and what he ought to do, and then he just doesn't do it. And that, I don't want to make a mountain out of a molehill here, but it's like, okay, that you talk to players in the league, it's discipline that gets them to that upper echelon of player. It's eating right, taking care of your body during the toiling through an 82-game regular season and still sticking to your routine, getting the massage work done, getting to the arena early, getting those extra shots up, staying at practice for another 20 minutes to practice whatever it is that you need to practice, all that stuff. I don't know that John Morant doesn't do that, but just based on all this stuff, that would be my concern is this guy has all the talent in the world. He's so uniquely and supremely gifted. And he has flashes of greatness, but I don't know if he's ever going to get to that level because he just seems to lack that discipline. And so that would be my main concern with him.
Yeah, I mean, the only positive here is he's not 30.
Right. He's
So
got
there's
time.
still time. Yeah,
Yep.
still time. But the human body can only take so much. So.
Any loose playoff thoughts from you?
Um, yeah. Last night, I don't want to belabor the fact that the best team in the NBA looks like the best team in the NBA, but I do have to say, as I'm seeing OKC come back from down 30, although it's against the Grizzlies, who we all don't think should be there right now. I just wonder if they're just going to blitz everyone, and we're just kind of not paying attention, or we're not believing it yet until it happens. And that's totally fair. Like, you have to see something happen before you believe it. I don't think anyone believed the 2000. Well, only maybe Ethan Strauss believed the 2015 Warriors are going to win the title. So it's stuff like that I'm just like, maybe, let's not go too crazy. But man, they might just destroy every single Western Conference team and only be challenged by the Celtics or Cavs. What do you think?
So I'm looking at potentially the Clippers in the next round. And that's a team that could give them some problem. Shea has been fine. Oh, okay. Is it all right if I say that Shea's been a little disappointing in the playoffs so far? He's shooting 35%.
Maybe he doesn't. He knows that he doesn't have to do it. I don't know.
I think you're right.
You're right. Yeah.
I do think when push comes to shove, he'll just be the MVP probably. But it's just I got 35%. It's just got my eye on that. That's all. You might be right. I don't know but what do you mean? Do you think they'll go? Like, do you think they'll just go? They'll run the table. Do you think they'll lose one game?
12-1 is kind of what I'm. I mean, I'm not predicting it, but I'm just saying, like, dude, I think they might sweep the next round, and then
wow,
and then might have a Luka, LeBron, whoever's in the way there. Anthony Edwards dropping 45 on people in the West Finals to kind of take a game, but their defense allows them to make so many mistakes. OKC's defense allows Shea to shoot 35%. Hell, he can shoot 25%, and they're going to win the series. How insane is that to say?
It's wild. I mean, when that defense is locked in, they are the most terrifying thing I've ever seen. And Alex Caruso at the end of that Grizzlies game, by the way, 4 steals in that game, whatever he did should be illegal.
Well, I mean, in the playoffs, it's not illegal, but
right. And I say that jokingly, but like, I just could not believe to the degree he just punked Memphis by himself. He was like, "You have the ball, now you don't. It's my ball now." He was just taking it away. When that team is locked in, they are terrifying.
My only other straight thought is, I'm extremely, and I don't want to be like, count out the Heat. You can do that if you want to, because you have the authority to do that. But I don't want to count out the Heat or count out the Bucks yet. But it's like, I'm extremely excited for a Pacers Cavs series, like, because I think that's a situation where, like, Cleveland's been awesome. They've been hot offensively, best offense we've seen. But man, like, the Pacers, the Pacers, they can push the right buttons. And Rick Carlisle, I did not expect Carlisle to go to Indiana a couple of years ago and change his style from what we're used to in Dallas all those years, and have this type of team. But they're damn fun to watch.
I did a story on Carlisle and the Pacers last year, and talking to Carlisle and some of the players and stuff. You're absolutely right. I mean, but what he saw was Tyrese Halliburton is a unique player, and he made the right decision. He's like, I got to tailor everything I do to him, and I compare it to a little bit like Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. Not comparing Halliburton to Mahomes in terms of greatness, but in terms of that's a very specific player, and everything we do has to just be tailored to that player. And Carlisle just saw it and said, "Hey, he made my job easier. Like, that's our identity. It just everything is Halliburton, and every player that we get in this building has to work with this guy." And that's why they made the trade for Siakam, who was an obviously good fit. It's why guys like, I think, Benedict Mathurin actually do work with him, because he's just sort of this like straight line, vertical receiver, and you just kind of throw it to him. I think Nembhard obviously works because what he provides defensively and his ability to kind of complement him. It all really works. And I'm with you, man. I think I would probably pick the Cavs in that series, and we can go ahead and say it'll be Cavs Pacers, but I'm done counting out the Pacers or overlooking them. Like they could totally win that series, absolutely, 100%. Nembhard's awesome. Neesmith, since he's been back, has been awesome. Their defensive rating since Neesmith and Nembhard came back in the middle of the year has been way better than I think people realize.
I think their defense since Pascal got there has been pretty good, honestly.
And their lineups, when it's Halliburton, Siakam, Turner, and as long as one of Neesmith or Nembhard is on the court with the other core three guys, those lineups like blitz their opponents. Like those are some of the best lineups per net rating in the league. They're awesome and they're really well coached. Carlisle's one of those quietly good coaches that doesn't really get a lot of talk, like not a lot of talk about coach of the year or anything like that, but he's consistently a good coach who pulls the right buttons and connects with his team. I'm with you, man. I'm with you. I think it's a great call out. Last thing here, Evan Mobley, he was named Defensive Player of the Year. Congrats to Evan Mobley. Are you okay with it?
Okay with it, yes. I probably would have picked Zubats. That's just, but this is one of those years where you could argue for maybe 5 people, and that's because of Wembanyama's absence and so on and so forth. I mean, if you look at defensive EPM, all the top guys are ruled out. So what are you going to do about it?
I'm with you. I was okay with it. I wouldn't have had him. I did not have him in my top 3.
Who'd you pick?
I went Amen Thompson, number 1, and I sort of talked myself into it on a podcast on one of these shows. I just started talking about how good of a defender Amen Thompson is, and I was like, is he the best defensive player of the year? And I even said on the podcast, I'm not going to vote for him for defensive player of the year because that seems crazy. And then I thought more about it. I'm like, is it that crazy? And then I started talking to some other people, and everybody was like, it's not that crazy. He's been that good. And his the dunks and threes stat, the DPM, whatever it is, EPM, a lot of the advanced stats put him right up there with Mobley, Draymond, Dyson Daniels, like all these guys who were literally the finalists for this award. I was like, maybe it's not that crazy.
I couldn't get there with Dyson because to me, the team has to be a good defense. Like I'm with you. I know that's a flawed thing in some people's eyes, but
I'm with you. That's why I wouldn't have voted Wemby last year. I'm sorry. Like you don't get to be.
Yes, no.
Can we could just say you're an amazing defender, but you don't get to have this trophy.
Who won it?
I'm sorry, unless the whole. It's like in the movie last year. Who won it?
Yeah,
Gobert.
Right, I forgot.
Again, another one of those Gobert trophies. But I was. To me, it's like you can have a great performance in a movie, but you're not going to win like best actor or actress if the movie sucks.
No.
It's just, you know what I mean? So I'm fine with Evan Mobley winning. I get it. He I don't want to take anything away from him. He's really good. It felt a little bit like a safe vote for a lot of voters. I didn't like the finalists. I mean, I couldn't get there with Dyson Daniels, to your point. I thought Draymond was deserving as a finalist. I would have, and honestly, if he was voted Defensive Player of the Year, I wouldn't have had a problem with it. It's sort of a problem that he only has one Defensive Player of the Year award. Like he probably should have more than that. So if he would have gotten one just from the legacy part of it, I would have been okay with it. And if the argument was he was so damn good for the last 2 months of the season that he deserves it, I would have been okay with it because of the field the way it was. But he wasn't playing like that at the beginning of the year, and I ultimately held that against him. But again, if you were just saying like he was so freaking good for 2 months, and that was why you voted for him, I would have been okay with it.
Yeah. I don't know. This was a weird year. All I know is I need Vic to be at 65 games because he's going to win at least 5 in a row.
I also think we need to get rid of the 65 game thing.
Oh, thank God. Yes, I have a supporter here.
It's ridiculous. Just let the voters vote. We're not going to vote for the guy. We wouldn't have voted for Wembanyama this year. I promise. He played 8 games or whatever it was. Like we wouldn't have voted for him. It would have been fine.
But like the KD situation. KD played 62 games, and I know that the Suns sucked, but it's like for him to not even be eligible for All NBA is pretty crazy.
And when they introduced the 65 game rule, they did introduce a process where you can go to like arbitration and they could debate it, like if you're that close or whatever. Mm-hmm. I have not seen that brought up or talked about. No. I don't know, like Durant being 3 games below the threshold probably doesn't qualify. But for somebody like Chris Dunn,
oh yes, the 20-minute. Oh my,
the 20-minute thing. It's not average 20 minutes. It's play 20 minutes and 60. I'm like, whatever, dude. That's an off-season podcast. Shane Young,
Yes.
you do an awesome job. Analyst for NBA, NBA analyst for Forbes. A must follow on Twitter, and I think somebody that we're gonna have to bring back here on Real GM Radio.
Thanks so much, man. I appreciate it. We have 2 more months of playoff ball to kind of dissect, so I'm available all the time, anytime.